Can I start by just asking you to briefly introduce yourselves and let us know which institutions or organisations you're part of, and a little bit about your backgrounds?
Hi, my name is Ian Baxter. I'm a Professor of Historic Environment Management at Heriot-Watt University, based in Edinburgh. I'm an archaeologist originally as a background, but I've always worked in university business schools. So thinking about how heritage and archaeology and cultural assets are used in the world by communities and in business settings as well. And so how we manage heritage and think about sort of the management aspects of it, as well as sort of the cultural values and how they play themselves out in the real world.
I'm Antony Firth. I'm Head of Marine Heritage Strategy for Historic England. I'm a marine archaeologist by background. I've got a long interest in just about every aspect of our heritage and the sea, really. And so I've got quite a wide-ranging background, and my role in Historic England is to try draw lots of different strands together to make sure that we're championing marine heritage in the best way that we can.
Hi, I'm Ruth Thurstan, and I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Exeter's Cornwall campus. And my research is predominantly looking at marine historical ecology, so looking at the changes in our marine ecosystems over the last couple of centuries. So trying to really use historical sources that weren't necessarily intended to be used for scientific or management purposes, and trying to assess those to understand what our seas used to look like, how we used to interact with them, and the social and ecological outcomes of those interactions.
Thank you. Now, your project title, Mobilising Cultural Heritage in UK Marine Fisheries. I wanted to ask if you could just walk me through where the idea started.
The background to this comes from an appreciation that the culture and heritage of the fishing sector is really important to that sector and to the communities that they live in. And although people recognise that the heritage of fishing is really important, not very much work has been done on actually using that in the management of fisheries today and for the future.
What we're all very interested in is bringing in academic partners and stakeholders to try to look at existing sort of knowledge gaps, but also how we can apply this new understanding to fundamentally advance policy.
Fishing communities and our relationship with the ocean, fish and fishing are being used as part of the brand in many places for products and services and experiences in tourism. And that historical relationship with the sea and that opportunity to leverage closer relations with an understanding of the heritage aspect of it, I see it really, really important for future business and environmental sustainability part as well.
This really is interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary work. There's no one who's going to come to this with all the factors that they'll need. This is going to be a learning experience.
So they could come from the historical, cultural, business.
And from the scientific background as well, environmental. Yeah. The key thing I think about any candidate that does this is somebody who's inquisitive about making the connections between all of these interests and stakeholders, and particularly sort of with Ruth's expertise around the historical period as well, looking at that, how that has changed over history. It's going to be a bit of a treasure trail, I think, in sort of looking at some of this.
Yeah, a new kind of researcher and a new kind of world that needs this kind of research doing.
Is starting to map out some of the pathways between heritage and ecology, where knowing something of heritage will have ecological consequences. Actually starting to pin those down, I think, would be really, really exciting.
This is a studentship that's been funded through the Natural Environment Research Council. So there's sort of the thinking around the future sustainability of marine species and sustainable practice is at the heart of this as well. Are there aspects from the historical, what we would call the heritage aspects of all of this, that are that are important potentially in the future for sustainable practices.
Who should applicants go to if they want to ask more?
I would suggest they start with Ian, and then Ian passes to Ruth or myself.
That sounds like a plan, yeah. We're looking for a sort of an arch networker to think around the person that's going to do this. So somebody who's keen to kind of make the connections and talk often around these ideas and issues is really at the heart of it.